Well, the new walkways are finished, making accessibility easier for all people wanting to see the site. Work was delayed a few days because of recent rain. Experts I talked to today said the best advice is to stay in your vehicle and wait for help. But if you can't do that, your next best option is to jump out of your vehicle without touching it. These methods are meant to keep you safe from the invisible threat below. It's all anyone is talking about here in Leon County. It takes up the whole front page of this morning's newspaper in Buffalo. On May 14, 1984, a violent scene was discovered in Leon County. This is the window Clayton Cox was thrown out. He says as it happened, the house continued to roll. Amazingly, he wasn't crushed. Well, starting in January, TxDOT will widen this bridge to allow more traffic to come through. Highway 21 sees big backups here, not just during the weekends, but during other times of the work week too. Water safety experts tell us if you or your child aren't the strongest swimmer, to wear a life jacket. They come in all shapes and sizes, and you're going to want one that is Coast Guard approved. They're great to wear in any type of water. While the bonfire site closed at the end of August ahead of the 20th anniversary of the collapse, which killed 12 students. Well, Crystal, this morning, hundreds of people, including firefighters, police officers, and the public gathered to pay their respects to Lance Norwood. The site should be scraped clean within the next couple days. Smith is still waiting for approval from the city for his new retail center. Coming up tonight at 6, we'll dig deeper into the company that used to own the silk stocking and see what they still owe the state of Texas.
And this is the roof from where it went upside down, then back on its side, and then sat right back upright, and that's how it ended up.
Clayton Cox's world literally turned upside down early Thursday morning. He and his expecting wife were in their home when a windstorm blew through, rolling it over and tearing it to pieces.
It just kind of kept on rolling. My wife was in the bathroom. It threw me into the wall and then out the window.
This is the window Clayton Cox was thrown out. He says as it happened, the house continued to roll. Amazingly, he wasn't crushed.
I've got 2 big gashes, and they just put some staples in. I got a bump on my head somewhere up there.
His wife was at the doctor getting checked out.
My wife is 11 weeks pregnant. She's got a lot of road rash. We've both got a lot of road rash.
A nearby church has a message about the wicked weather. It's a sentiment shared by Cox.
You know, God works in mysterious ways. That's about all you can say. I mean, a house rolled over the top of me as I went through the window, and I'm still here talking to you. And I've got stitches or staples, and that's it. So, praise God.
In Leon County, Clay Falls, News 3. Police officers, first responders, and the community packed First United Methodist Church of Bryan to say goodbye to a man dedicated to service. Kenny Metters first joined Bryan PD in 1991.
The Bryan Police Department said Officer Metters was truly a man of character. I say today, not only that, but he was my friend.
Police Chaplain Robert Smith remembered his former co-worker. Metters' passion was the motorcycle traffic safety unit.
I'm blessed to have had the privilege to work with Kenny on patrol as his partner sergeant. We had an awesome working relationship, one that entailed professionalism and respect. He was concerned about every officer.
Police Chief Eric Buske told me they are still coping with the loss.
You know, he served over 26 years total. He was really a good cop, and he was one of those guys that kind of had projected a little bit of a grumpy presence when he was around people, but he was a heart of gold, had a heart of gold.
After the service, his law enforcement family made a wall of honor.
We were extremely impressed with the number of folks that came out today. That really shows the heart of this community and what they feel about this police department, and in particular about a special officer.
So this is a sad day for the Bryan Police Department. We're gonna miss our friend.
In Bryan, Clay Falls, News 3. Experts I talked to today said the best advice is to stay in your vehicle and wait for help. But if you can't do that, your next best option is to jump out of your vehicle without touching it. These methods are meant to keep you safe from the invisible threat below. DPS troopers say 36-year-old Lisa Gallegos and 2 children were inside a vehicle that crashed into a utility pole on FM 50 in Robertson County last week. Troopers said she was electrocuted when she got out and stepped on a wire in the dark.
It takes 1 amp going through your heart can cause death, so you have to be very careful.
David Reilly with Bryan Texas Utilities said you should always assume wires are live. He showed me the safest way to exit a vehicle if it's crashed into a utility pole or nearby wires are down.
Always more safe, obviously, to stay in the vehicle if you can. Just wait for first responders to get here. If you exit the car, you would come out keeping your feet together, and then you would just shuffle as you go, not lifting your feet off the ground, just kind of shuffle, and this keeps the electricity from coming up one side and down and into the other side at a different rate that would actually electrocute you.
they're short poles. So we do that so we can keep the linemen down here to the ground and we can explain to them what we're doing.
Philip Mullen is an instructor at TEEX teaching linemen and electricity professionals.
It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And that's one of the, if you've got a little bit of knowledge about what you're trying to do, again, if it's at all possible, just stay in the car. If you're staying in the car, you're not going to get hurt.
Something else that's scary to think about is electricity travels more when the ground is wet or muddy than when it's drier. Experts also told me today that if you're a passerby and want to help, to not get too close to the scene and become a victim yourself. Live in Bryan, Clay Falls, News 3.
Clay, great information there.
Well, TxDOT tells me more than 6,000 vehicles drive the Highway 21 bridge over I-45 each day. Now they want to widen the bridge and ease some of the traffic backups. From weekdays to weekends, if you're passing through Madisonville, you've noticed the traffic along the busy I-45 corridor. Jose Juarez lives nearby in Leona and comes to Madisonville every day for work.
Just because the fact that there's too much traffic, you know, there's just too many cars for that narrow space, and I think expanding it would definitely make everybody's routine a lot better. It would make everybody's commute time maybe a little bit shorter, so it's definitely a great idea.
In January, TxDOT plans to widen the bridge, adding a new eastbound lane, westbound turn lanes, and a sidewalk. But more is being planned.
It'd be a loop around the southern part of Madisonville.
Madisonville Mayor Bill Parton tells me TxDOT also wants to build a bypass around 21.
It will go out and pick up Highway 90, traffic off of that, trucks on it, Highway 75, 45, then come back in at 21 about a mile and a half east of downtown Madisonville.
Lots of changes drivers tell me are needed.
I'm just looking forward to the new improvements.
It'll cost about $4 million to widen the bridge. TxDOT tells me the new bridge should be ready by August. Live in Madisonville, Clay Falls, News 3. This is all that's left of the workshop Kevin Fitzgerald was working in when the tornado hit. He says the wall started bowing and part of the building collapsed. All that happened in less than a minute.
Crawled right out from underneath this. See that little space in there? That's where I was.
Kevin Fitzgerald has a storm story hard to imagine. He was working in his hobby shop on Coyote Run Road Wednesday afternoon when an EF2 tornado came crashing in.
I felt myself get pulled, and next thing I know, I was going fast. I know that. It's through the air and getting hit by all kinds of things. And then when I landed, a bunch of stuff landed on top of me.
His neighbor Danny Morrison with EPICURES Catering came to help.
I went over to see him, and he was in this building here, and he was on the corner. He said that it lifted him and slammed him into a wall.
The National Weather Service was surveying the damage Thursday. Meteorologist Dan Reilly says this storm had winds of 120 miles per hour.
This tornado didn't have a great appearance on radar. It didn't show up as even a thunderstorm, more of a shower. This one we think kind of spun up very quickly from the ground up, and it's something we want to look back at to kind of understand better.
Fitzgerald says he's fortunate. He walked out with a broken foot, cuts and bruises.
I thought, this is just like in the movie Twister, you know? I mean, when I went up in the air, I was like, holy, because I remember clawing for the ground, trying to stay on the ground. I told God, I ain't dying in no tornado. No way.
Brazos County Emergency Management says Fitzgerald is the only injury from this storm. He says he does have insurance to replace the property and is leasing this building. Live in Brazos County, Clay Falls, News 3. State Representative Kyle Cassell is sharing his thoughts on a secret recording from June that's caused controversy in state politics. In the recording, the state Speaker of the House says he wants to target Cassell and other lawmakers and will trade favors to make it happen.
And let's go after these Republicans that, and I'm not kidding, when it comes to 2020, if we're successful and we gain maybe 1 or 2 or 3 Republican seats, we beat some of these liberal pieces of
The trust has been lost with the current speaker, and you have 149 members that depend on that leadership from the Speaker of the House to make sure that he or she has their backs in a tough campaign or on a tough vote or a solution that will make Texas better.
Cassell was mentioned in the recording after he and other Brazos Valley lawmakers voted against legislation that would have limited cities from hiring lobbyists.
In my opinion, if the far left and the far right are mad at me, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
He hopes the politicians in Austin will be able to move forward.
You know, I can forgive, but once again, we just cannot condone those kind of actions.
In College Station, Clay Falls, News 3. Smashing metal and dust, all that was left of one of College Station's most infamous businesses. The former silk stocking came down in just over an hour Thursday morning.
There's been a lot of people in the community that cared, that really wanted to see it gone and didn't want to have their kids passing by seeing this type of business in this kind of area.
Ron Smith of Aggieland Carpet One bought the vacant property in early 2017. His plans to redevelop the site have taken longer than he wanted. He said the city required him to reduce the size of his new retail center to 10,000 square feet.
I hope that, sometime in the next month or so we have approval to develop the site from the city.
4 years ago, the state shut down the club for failure to pay taxes. The state says as of Thursday, the former owner, Blue Dolphin Club Incorporated, still owes more than $228,000.
It was an eyesore.
Stephen Green co-owns Urban Optics next door. He told me they plan to move into the new retail building once it's up.
Well, for those visiting Aggieland to not drive by and see this ugly pink gentleman sign as they're entering town, I think is great for everybody in town.
Today, we're able to get rid of it and have a new beginning for our community.
I'm happy to see this day come.
In College Station, Clay Falls, News 3. So far this year, 43 children have drowned in Texas. More than half of those drownings have happened in places like this, swimming pools. Experts encourage everyone to learn how to swim and keep practicing. The BRYAN Aquatic Center is a popular place in the summer. 10-year-old Jackson Bullock takes lessons each year. He started learning as an infant.
We're just doing it like at the beginning of the summer and at the end of the summer.
Others like 14-year-old Isabella Mercer and her siblings are new at taking lessons.
We really started because Mom thought we needed to learn how to swim, and it's been a lot of fun just being able to learn how to swim, and I find it easy. And Henry and Lily are enjoying it too.
At this pool, swim lessons start as young as 6 months.
Is Miss Seema teaching y'all how to swim? Doing a great job?
Marty Mulgrew is the BRYAN Aquatics supervisor. He said there are misconceptions on how drownings happen.
The movies portray drowning as this very active, very loud event, and it's not. Drowning is a very silent event because once you actually get into where you're actually drowning, it's silent. You're going underwater.
Mulgrew said that pools aren't the only dangerous spot for children.
Even just a couple inches of water. So yeah, it's coolers, buckets, bathtubs, home pools. Most of these drownings are for children. Really are occurring in the home setting, in pools, spas, buckets, coolers, things like that.
An activity these kids just want to enjoy.
Kind of fun.
Water safety experts tell us if you or your child aren't the strongest swimmer, to wear a life jacket. They come in all shapes and sizes, and you're going to want one that is Coast Guard approved. They're great to wear in any type of water. It's also a great idea to wear these out at the lake. Many of those drownings can be prevented by wearing one. Live in BRYAN, Clay Falls, News 3.